we're now, I guess, going into the next part of the new year. And last week we were talking about growth through adversity, growth through challenges. And this week I wanted to take that to another dimension and talk about what's next when you face the challenge, when you overcome a particular situation, what's next? And what's next is that you keep going and growing. It's a continuous process. So before we get into that, I want to do our meditation to put us in the proper framework for the message. Close your outer eyes, open your inner eyes, and take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. And let us affirm, I am at peace with myself together. I am at peace with myself. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. And in this state of peace and relaxation, my mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Let us affirm together, my mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Just let that sink in. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. And so it is. This topic, keep going and growing, I love to open with a quote. And one of my great teachers was Eric Butterworth. And Eric Butterworth had a great quote, and it is so apropos. And it says, don't go through life, grow through life. Don't go through life, grow through life. Wow. That's powerful, folks. Don't grow through life, grow. Don't go through life, grow through life. Oprah had an interesting quote also, I think that even brings it home. She said, we can't become what we need to be by remaining who we are. We can't become who we need to be by remaining who we are. So this thought, this idea is a profound one, because the process of life is really one of plateaus. And everything we do takes place basically in this, like this four-legged chair. This universe operates on four basic principles: energy, vibration, in other words, order, that there's a process, there are rules and regulations that apply to everything. Change, that the universe is constantly growing. And choice, that we choose each day whom we will serve. So energy, order, change, and choice. So the universe is always growing. And so this process of living is one by which we actually take steps to go from wherever we are to wherever we want to be. And it's interesting, if you can imagine a staircase. This growth process takes place in stages, like a staircase. So we achieve a certain level in our life experience. And that we achieve, we get comfortable in it. In other words, we become more than we were before in a prior step. But once we be more, we can see more. And so this growth process goes, we achieve a certain level, we get comfortable on it, But once we're on that level, we see greater possibilities. It's as though at the top of each mountain, there's another mountain. And so when you see these other possibilities now, inside you get this need for change, this feeling that there's more to it. There's something else to do. It becomes a challenge. And so everything we do in our lives from day to day, we're constantly confronted with challenges. What do we have to do to get to the next point? What do we have to do to get to the next mountain? The interesting thing is when we have these challenges, there's a constant confrontation that happens. When we have these challenges, there are 4 things we can do. We can flee it. So we're moving along in our career, in our life, in our profession, in our income building, in our empire building, and we have a challenge. There's an obstacle. There's something blocking our way. Well, we can flee it. Just run away from it. And there are a lot of people do it. You've seen folks who get involved in something, and when their first difficulty happens, they disappear. Someone once said that there's a saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Well, there's another group, when the going gets tough, they get gone. They flee. When you're faced with a challenge of growth, you may forget it. Denial is very powerful. Just it's not happening. This is not what it is. On the other hand, when you are confronted with a challenge, you may fight it and try to pretend it's somebody else's fault. Many of us are entrepreneurs, and when we come to that point in our businesses where we need to make a breakthrough, there's some people that complain, oh, they don't like tall people, short people, white people, black people. All of these are reasons why I can't face this challenge and can't overcome it successfully. But then there's that 4th stage, to face it. And it is only when you face it that you can grow through it. And that's the whole point. That as we move through our lives, there will always be challenges. There will always be mountains. And the key is to face the challenge, to face the mountain and rise above it. Once we choose to face it, then we're on the path. I often speak about life as a boat. Life is a boat, and we're on this boat. And this boat consists of 4 things. It consists of a rudder, which is our value system, which tells us, what we do, our sense of right and wrong. And see, the rudder that we have is that thing that guides us no matter what. It consists of an engine, and the engine is your level of desire. The engine is what carries a boat when there's no wind, when there's no current. The engine keeps you moving. And then you have your sails, and the sails represent your response to the winds of time. So the sails are really your attitude. The same wind that blows one ship over, when you adjust your attitude, blows your ship ahead. And then, of course, you have your crew. And your crew are those people that you permit, operative word, permit, to come into your space, that you permit to come into your life. Now, let me tell you something, folks. Who you permit to come on the boat that is your life can undermine your journey. But that's a story for another day. But just remember this, that on our boat, on the boat that is our lives, we have our value system, our desire, our engine, our sails, our attitude, and we have our crew, those who help us. As we move across the river of time, and by the way, the boat of life operates on the river of time. As we move on the river of time, circumstances change. The winds may die out. So there's no vibration. There's no wind to push you one way or the other. Okay. Your crew may desert you. But the two things that are always under your control, and this is a point I want us to remember, the two things that are under your control, those are the things that can give you the power to face any challenge and overcome it. And the two things that are under your control on the boat that is your life is your desire and your value system. And so when everything else fails, your desire can keep you going. When people abandon you and say you'll never make it, you can't happen, you don't have what it takes, your desire can keep you going. Can you imagine how many times Tyler Perry felt that there was no hope, that there was no way? You know, I used to co-manage the Dixie Hummingbirds, and they had a song, and it was called When No One Shows Up. And it's about when you're on the road performing and you have your best material and nobody shows up, when you're expecting 145 and only 5 show up. How do you respond? What do you do? So the thought then is that what do you do is your will is what keeps you going forward. We have a number of entrepreneurs on the Zoom today, and every course, every business asks you, what is your why? Even when you go there for a job, your employer will ask you, why do you want this job? Why do you think you are qualified for this job? What do you bring to this job? And so your will, this is the deepest portion of your being. Your will is that moment-to-moment expression of your self-concept. Your will is the moment-to-moment expression of your self-concept. So what do I mean? If you see yourself as a victim, then your will is congruent with being a victim. And so therefore you do victim things. You lay down, you get run over, you let people take advantage of you. But if you see yourself as the victor, you see yourself as wealthy, you see yourself as powerful, you see yourself as happy, how you see yourself determines the nature of your will. So therefore, when things happen to you that are not good, your will can say, I don't deserve this. And this will to win, this desire to face the Goliath. You know, I love the story of David and Goliath. And when Goliath is standing there wanting to kill David, David could have fled. He could have forgotten. He could have fight and say, hey, I don't need to fight him. This is not what's going on. But by facing it, we now talk of David as a king. And so in your life, when your willpower is strong enough, when your why is big enough, the facts don't matter. But your will is expressed in 3 ways. Your will is expressed as I am. And that's the statement of your being. Whatever you put after I am, you are. So if you say, I am a child of an ever-living, all-powerful God, that creates your statement of being. On the other hand, if you say, I am a loser, I am a failure, that creates the statement of your being. So when we talk about our willpower and our ability to confront challenges, the first statement is that I am. You know, in Genesis, when Moses was receiving his instructions from God, Moses said, who shall I say sent me? And the Creator says, tell him I am sent you. So I am is the making point, making power is the statement of your being. So from this day forward, always put after I am something that's good, something that's powerful, something that you want to be, do, and have. The second aspect of your will to win is I will. And this is the statement of your intent. You know, we live a life of intention, and whatever intention we give, in other words, intention gives us direction. Where intention goes, power flows. So the statement of being, and then that intention of creating that being, that intention of manifesting that being, giving it the energy. So when you say, in the scripture, it says, let the weak say, I am strong. So the moment you say, I am strong, you now have the power to do whatever needs to be done. The third aspect of will is I do. See, everything we teach and all the learning that you'll ever have doesn't mean a thing if you don't do something with it. So the expression of your will, the core of your why, that thing that drives you to overcome any challenges. I am, I will, I do. Now the I do part, that's the key. Remember, we said the universe is based on order. One of the principles is that principle of discovery. Seek and you shall find. Ask and you receive. Knock and it shall be open. And so in this aspect of the will, the I do aspect is that you keep knocking. You keep seeking. You keep asking until you receive. Someone was talking to the Indian rain dancers, and they said the Indian dancers, they would dance and the rain would come, and they say, well, how does that happen? How are you able to dance and make the rain come? And the wise man said, we dance until it rains. And so whatever's confronting you in your life right now, if you seek an answer without fail, you'll find it. If you ask, you believe and doubt not, you will receive it. And if you knock, the door will be opened. It seems very simple, doesn't it? So we talk about going and growing. All you have to do is to keep doing it, to keep seeking, to keep knocking, to keep asking. So the question is, why don't people do that? Why isn't everybody outrageously successful? If it's that simple, if those principles apply in such a simplistic fashion, why isn't everybody there? Why do people quit? Why do they give up? People give up and quit because of fear and bad habits. Some people quit because of fear of failure. They don't understand that every failure is a dress rehearsal for success. In fact, there's no failure, there's only a learning. Anytime stuff doesn't work out the way you want it to, you learn something. You either learn what not to do or what more to do. You have the fear of criticism. You know, most of the people who criticize are not criticizing you based on your potential, but they're criticizing you based on their lack of potential. So people who cannot fly have nothing positive to say about people who can fly. So criticism, fear of criticism can immobilize you. Overcome that fear by realizing that if the criticism doesn't feel good and righteous to you, if it feels painful, if it makes you feel bad, forget it. Keep rolling. If it's uplifting, if it's encouraging, you may learn from it. Some people even fear change. You know, when we go up these steps of life, when we get to different plateaus, you get on a plateau and it can get comfortable. Like, yeah, man, this feels good. And when that thing inside you that says there's another mountain, there's another hill, you know, after you make that first million, the second million is really a little easier. After you make the second million, the third million is a little easier. So the idea is if you keep rolling that and you change to do what's necessary to keep moving up and growing, good things happen. I remember a lady once told Reverend Ike, he says, well, Sister Mary, he says, what are you doing? She said, Reverend Ike, I'm working on my second million. So he says, wow, Sister Mary, where'd you make your first million at? She said, I didn't make it, but I figure I'll go straight for the second million. It's easier. But the fear of change, it's amazing. It's like the fear of the unknown. And many times when you get to a certain point in your life where stuff is going pretty good, and you see that next step up, and you don't go for it, it's that type of complacency. Anytime you don't move up, you automatically start sliding down. I love the Sam Cooke song, and I think it really typifies why sometimes we fear change. He said, it's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die because I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. Wherever you are right now requires faith to let you know that that next step is going to even be, it's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. The habit that keeps us from growing is the worst habit on the planet, procrastination. There's some other habits, but procrastination is the one habit that can keep you from being all that you were created to be. See, procrastination is dishonoring God's ultimate gift to you. The other side of the gift of life is the gift of time. And so when we procrastinate, when we don't do what must be done, when it must be done, we are giving away our time. We are dishonoring our Creator. So once we get past this, once we understand why people quit and we overcome those fears and we eliminate the bad habits of procrastination and other habits that undermine our efforts, the question now is, what must we do to keep going and growing? Number one, you got to know where you're going. You see, a ship without a destination is going nowhere. If your ship, if the ship that is your life, the boat that is your life has no destination, then the rudder doesn't matter. Your values don't matter. Then your desires don't matter, because without a destination, there's nothing to desire. Desire needs a destination to manifest. So when you have no destination, really your desire is completely neutralized. So it's almost like having this incredible boat with a 200 horsepower engine and never turning the engine on because you have nowhere to go. So the first key to keep going is and growing is to have a destination, to always have something you want to be, do, and have. To see that clear vision of what you want to be. See that clear vision of exactly the way you want your life to be. You know, that vision is the blueprint. Can you imagine building a skyscraper without a blueprint? So how are you going to create a life without a vision? Without something you want to be, do, and have. So step one is to know where you're going. You got to have a destination. You got to have goals. You have to have vision. And when I say them, I mean in your heart. The first law of success, a mind shall have whatsoever it thinks in its heart. So whatever that vision is, it must be totally internalized in your feeling nature. What you recognize in your vision, you energize in your feeling nature. What you energize in your feeling nature, you realize in your life experience. What do you do to keep going and growing? Number two, you got to know how you're going to get there. Know how you're going to get there. That means you have to have a plan, a definite written plan. And I mean a detailed plan where you've laid out each and every aspect of what it takes to get where you want to go, where you have all of the goals that will lead you to your vision written and specifically identified, where you list all the actions necessary to accomplish each goal, where you have a timetable, where you develop a daily method of operation to get results, desired results. You notice when they're building a skyscraper, they can set a time plan. They can say it'll be finished by June of 2025. So how do they know that? Because when they lay out the plan for building the building, they have time markers. We do the same thing in our lives. When you lay out your goals, that vision, and then convert that vision into goals, then each one of those goals, you have times that they must be done and the steps that it will take to get it done. That's when you really know how to get there. You know, of all the success books I've ever read, the 12 Universal Laws of Success in chapter 7, the law of action, it gives you the most detailed plan, step-by-step plan to lay out your success plan. So you got to know how you're going to get there. Number three, keep you going and growing. You have to develop a team. One of my good friends, Coach Smile, is on this Zoom this morning. And of all the entrepreneurs I've ever met, he is probably the person who I've seen over the years always develop a team. And that's a model, folks. You know, there's certain knowledge, certain power you cannot access by yourself. If you let your ego tell you that you're the one with all the ideas and only you can do it, you've doomed yourself because you've cut yourself off from the mastermind principle. You know, there's certain powers you cannot access by yourself, so you must have other human beings. We are created as harmonic beings in harmonic relationships. And so in order for us to be, do, and have some of the things we desire, we have to have a crew. We have to have a team. When you look back at the people who created massive wealth, you look at Steve Jobs. Everybody knows the name Steve Jobs. A few people know Steve Wozniak, but he had a crew. He had a team. He didn't go out there by himself, but he had a team, and that team created what is now Apple, the first trillion-dollar corporation. Bill Gates, same thing, had a team when he started out in Harvard. He had a group of his buddies. Edison, Thomas Edison as an inventor was, but he had the ability to put together a team. You know, Tesla once worked for Edison. And so this idea of developing a team has a twofold method, a twofold reason. One, it helps you control your ego. And two, it gives you access to the mastermind power. And then finally, the fourth key to keep you going and growing is to commit to always do it now. And when I say do it now, that's the secret. God's gift to us of time functions in the now. What we do with the time we have been given determines the life that we live. And so as we operate on this do it now attitude, there are two key principles. Number one is your attitude. What do you mean, Doc? Remember we talked about the boat and the sails? Well, in the do it now, your attitude is what determines your altitude. And so when I say the positive attitude, in the do it now, always have a positive attitude so that you always see the good in any situation. So any confrontation that you have, any challenge. So if there's a wall, then you can say, hey, there's a wall to stop me. Or you can say, there's a wall that if I climb to the top of that wall, I can see forever. And so whatever the situations are that you're confronted, always say, what is the good lesson I must learn now? You know, as entrepreneurs, you learn what to do by learning what not to do. You literally fail your way to success. They always talk about the power of no. You only find a yes after you've been through a lot of no's, but you have to hang in there until you get the yes. The other aspect of commit to do it now is to master time, to live in that time compartment of saying from moment to moment, what is the best use of my time right now when I consider my goals, my vision, and my purpose? And so when we can do these things, we can create this process for growth of one, having a place, something that you want to do, be, and have. Of two, having a plan to get that thing that you want to be, do, and have. Three, of putting mastermind groups together, having a team of people, a crew on your ship. And then four, always do it now. So when we go back to that boat analogy, when you have the right crew, see, your desire is strong. It keeps you running when there's no wind and when there's no crew. But can you imagine when you have desire and a crew? Then the motor may be pushing, but the crew is still rowing, so you go even faster. When your rudder is clear so that you're doing the right things, your values don't get you in trouble. When your attitude is such that no matter what the winds of time that blow, you figure out a way to orient your attitude so that it blows you closer and closer to your goals and further along the way. So let us recap. Today's message to keep going and growing. Number one, that life is really a process of growth. Growth is at the fiber of life. Those 4 principles of life, that the energy principle, that there's always a relationship between matter and energy, that your desires and the manifestation. The order principle, that there are rules, that there are orders, there are certain principles that when you understand them and abide by them, that your powers are multiplied and magnified. When you don't understand them, they work against you. There's change. The consistent aspect of the universe is always growing, it's always changing. And then there's choice. You, me, us, we have the power to choose this day whom we will serve. Choose positive or choose negative. We grow in stages. We have a challenge. We overcome it. We bask in the victory. But the moment we can be more, we can see more, and there's always another challenge. And we either confront that challenge and grow through it, as David, or we let fear of failure, fear of criticism, fear of change. We let procrastination undermine our efforts. We understand the power of our will, that our will drive us to whatever we desire, that our will is always expressed through the I am, the declaration of being, that I am an all-powerful child of an all-powerful creator, that I desire to manifest that oneness, and that I do it. I work at it. And then finally, we take those 4 steps. That we always know where we're going. We always have a destination. We always have a goal. We always have a vision. And that those goals lead us to our vision, and our vision leads us to our purpose. That we always know how we're going to get there. That once we have a goal, once we have a vision, then we lay out a step-by-step action plan to get there. The 3, we always build a team who surround ourselves with people who believe in us, uplift us, who love us, and who can help us fly. And then finally, be always committed to do whatever it takes, for as long as it takes, to achieve the goals we seek, the vision we have, and the purpose for which we were created. When we can do these things, nothing is impossible. We can be what we want to be, do what we want to do, and have anything we desire, always knowing that the best is yet to come. And so it is. Let's just take a deep breath for a moment. Thank you so much for being with us today. Those of you on Instagram, those of you on Facebook, be sure to visit our website, herbertharris.com. If you don't have a copy of our book, even if you do have, get another copy of our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. But 2 things I want you to look at on our website, herbertharris.com. Number 1, I'd love to hear your story of success, how you face challenges, how you keep going and growing. So you'll see a tab at the top, book a call with me, so we can have a personal conversation about your dreams, the things you want to do. And number 2, get the Ultimate Success Bundle. We have it, the New You for the New Year Success Bundle, because that is your toolbox that has everything you need to get anything you want. Always knowing that the best is yet to come.